that.
Right.
Speak right up. There you go.
I was just wondering if there was, what inspired you to write the book, or is there any incident that inspired you to write the book?
Well, there was actually a person that I worked with who had a different life experience, but she left her family, and she was just a very sad person who held herself back. And so I had that person in mind, even though the circumstances were totally different. But in addition to that, I had an experience in my own life where I felt, I don't know, I don't want to say I felt guilty, but I was disappointed in myself over something that happened. And then later, I overcame that by just striving and attaining some goals that I had set for myself. And I remember sitting one day and thinking, it's amazing how one incident can change everything. Because after that happened, I had this, it was almost like a weight was taken off of me. And I was started thinking about that with regard to a character that would have like much darker background than what I was talking. Mine was just a minor thing, a goal I had set that I didn't achieve, and then later I achieved it, and then I felt better. So that was really in mind, and I thought, maybe I pictured somebody who had a terrible secret or a terrible background, who was able to redeem herself by later actions. That's
good. Thanks for that, and Linnea, thanks for that question. Does anybody else have a question for Marbeth before we continue on? All right, we will plunge forward. Just monitoring other chats, and let's just keep on moving here. So here's some fun announcement for our audience. Maura Beth published The Edge of Memory in 2017, and she has a sequel with a mystery title we're not going to reveal quite yet today, coming out sometime soon. So without giving anything away in terms of spoiling the first book, for those who haven't read it, what does the sequel look like?
Well, the sequel is about what happened to my protagonist, whose name was Harriet. And then by the end of the book, the first book, she's being called Hattie, which is a name that was dear to her from her younger life, which she had forgotten that she was called that. But so what happens to Hattie in the second book is that she has all these wonderful things now, and she starts being haunted by these feelings that something bad's going to happen. Because when you have everything you wanted, what are you afraid of? Losing it, right? Mm-hmm. So, of course, bad things do start happening, and then she has to take matters into her own hands. In a way, it's kind of a friendship book, because her best friend, when she can't, when nothing helps her, the police, nobody can help her, she and her best friend set off to make things right. So it's kind of like a girl road trip.
Oh, wow. Thelma and Louise type thing?
not exactly, and they don't drive a cliff, but.
So Pat's asking here on the chat about whether she feels threatened by her father, and is the book about one woman overcoming?
You mean in the first book, does she feel threatened by her father? No, he's in jail by the time I start telling that story. He was caught and put in jail. So she's not threatened by her father, but she just somehow she feels like she deserted her mother, even though she was only 9, and she could have saved her mother, or she could have helped her mother. So a lot of things are uncovered as the book goes along as to what really happened. And so, yeah, she's able to accept herself and forgive herself for what she thought happened.
Good. That's great. Okay, super. So let's talk a little bit about the writing process, Marbeth, and what advice would you give to someone like yourself who, has a writer within herself or himself, but hasn't yet journeyed down that road? How do you get started? How did you get started?
Well, you know how I got started? Well, I took creative writing courses on and off for many, many years, and in college too. But what really helped me was I joined NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. And I just decided I'm going to write a book. I don't care what I have to do. So I sat down and I wrote an outline. which basically I didn't stick to later. But I think what helped me the most was their advice that they give, which is just write till you get to the end and don't edit as you go along. Because that's what I was always doing. I would start trying to write a book and then I would re-edit it and then I would go back and rewrite the first chapter. No, just go through, do the whole darn thing and then let it sit. I think they tell you let it sit for like a week or two and then go back and read it and then you start your editing. And I found that very helpful.
Do you outline the entire story before you just start to write, or do you just kind of write with the ideas flowing at the moment?
For books, for my 2 books, I did full outlines.
Okay.
But I find, and I've heard other people mention this when they're talking in these type of interviews, that all of a sudden the story just goes its own way and you think, where did that come from? You know, it just kind of happens, or the character will surprise you in some way. It sounds so weird to people that aren't writers, but I know everybody knows what I mean. So, but
Absolutely.
I do. Yeah, but for short stories, I don't outline them. I just go with the flow.
For the novels, that is so true. You can put together an outline, you're writing a whodunit, you know who's going to do it, and you get 3/4 through and the characters start doing their own thing. And then you think, am I writing myself into a corner here? You know, I've had that problem. Like, oh boy, what do I need to rewrite now based on what I just did? But
it's true.
Sometimes it's a better twist. It's a better road to go down. So
with my second novel, the one we aren't going to say the name of,
right.
it was such a convoluted plot that I had to I printed the whole thing out and I cut out each chapter separate, you know, I cut them and then I had to lay them out and try to figure out how can I put this thing together so it makes sense. And that kind of helped me.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm sure everybody's got their little writing tips because each one of us, I'm sure, does something a bit different. And what's effective for you is what's effective for you. Do you structure your day around writing, or do you just kind of write when the inspiration hits you?
No, I'm a very naughty writer. I don't write every day. I always tell myself I'm going to. But at least I usually will review a story. I have so many like half-finished things or old stories that I can rewrite, stories that I'm still writing. So I do something probably every day, either review one or do a little editing.
Yeah, I like doing that. When you get writer's block, I think it's helpful to just sit down and at least reread what you've done, do a little edit, because I think it kind of gets the spark moving again.
That's it. It's a catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you do when you have writer's block? To me, just keep rereading your own work and kind of get the groove back a little bit. I think that helps. Yeah.
And sometimes I know other writers are going to recognize this. You'll read maybe a story you wrote and set aside, and you'll think, "Oh, this is pretty good. Why did I set this aside?" And that's always a nice feeling.
Yep. Now here's some comments coming in, Maura, Beth. Nani says, not writing every day doesn't make you any less of a writer. And for those of you who do write every day, it makes them no more of a writer than you. So I agree with that, especially
for the
really busy people, you know, don't always have time to write every day. Let's see, Pat says she has so many stories and it helps her to get her writing in the writing mood when she's going slowly. So I think that's true as well. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the RRBC community, Maura, Beth. How has your membership in the organization benefited you as a writer?
Oh, it's been really great. I mean, first of all, I was so, I don't know, stunned and thrilled when I was asked, you know, to be in I asked to apply to be in RISA. I mean, that really blew me away. And it was very empowering because I thought, wow, you know, maybe this is a real thing. But also just the warmth of the community is so great. Everybody's, you know, just friendly and welcoming, and there's no snarky meanness, which you do see on some of the platforms. And I know Nani's talked about certain platforms that are just nasty. And the other thing is I'm in a little writers group. We can't meet now. We do Zoom meetings, but there's 6 of us and we've been meeting for a few years, but none of them try to publish anything. So they kind like, I can't really talk to them about any of the stuff or get any advice or, so this is nice because people are actually publishing.
Yeah.
I can hear what they did, see what they did. It's just been very, very nice and very supportive.
It's extremely so, and I think for all of us who are writing as independents out of our homes throughout the world, to be able to have an organization to gather in and meet and collaborate and just kind of listen to what everybody else is doing, and you think, oh, I never thought of that, so that to me is really one of the best parts of the organization. So, RISA, you mentioned the honor of being inducted into RISA and accepted. And, hundreds have applied for membership in RISA, but only about 50 of us have made the cut. So the show, of course, is featuring RISA writers like yourself. And
It is nice.
yeah, it's nice to belong to such a prestigious group, and we appreciate you expressing the sentiments. So we embrace at RISA and RRBC a philosophy of supporting others just as much as you support yourself. And I'd like to know a little bit more about what's that meant for you, the people that have supported you, and
Oh,
how has that helped your career?
Yeah, I've noticed so many people. I go on Twitter. I don't do much on Facebook, and I'm very remiss on my different author pages, which Nani, I promise I'll try to be better. But I noticed so many tweets about me, and I thought, wow, they would tweet my book or just whatever. And I was just taken aback by that because that had never happened before I joined RRBC. And then I got into the tweet team too. So I enjoy doing that for other people too.
Mhm.
It's kind of fun and it makes you feel good. But I just found that the people were so active in supporting each other. It blew me away, really.
And even if you're not on the tweet support team, whenever you get time, find another member to promote. It's very gratifying. It makes you feel good, and everybody appreciates it. So let's see what's happening in our gallery. See if anybody else has a question. Anybody have a hand up? Anybody want to ask a question of Maura Beth? All right, let's see if we have a comment here. So, Nani's talking about how we all laugh a lot, which is great because it's a very collegial bunch that we are. And yeah.
Let's laugh. So that's good for me.
Laughing's good for the soul, especially with all the stress that we've endured this year. So let's see, Maura Beth, I want to ask, as I try to with all of my guests, do you have any writing advice for our listeners? Because we'd like to learn from one another, and any writing advice you can give for our listeners today, or the folks that will watch this podcast later on.
Well, read a lot. That's one. And read all kinds of things, I think, whether it's indie writers or not indie writer. I mean, I think we kind of need to read outside of our own little world as well, but certainly support each other. And the other thing was what I said before, just kind of sit down and just write everything out while your creative juices are flowing, and don't stop to edit in the meantime. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any more that I could think of. I've been given tremendous advice by so many people. And I want to give a shout out to my editor for The Edge of Memory, which was our very own Susan Hughes. She's fabulous. And she really helped me a lot.
That's great. That's great. Good to find good resources within the organization. So, and this program, as you know, is called By the Book. We do things by the book. And we'd like to tell our listening audience, or have you tell our listening audience, why they should run out to Amazon right now and buy The Edge of Memory. Here it is. There's the book cover.
Oh, well, I think it would be a lovely Christmas gift, folks, for your friends. So I would recommend that. But it's just a hopeful story, I think. And I've been told by people who read it, they say she's really a heroine you can root for, that they got very involved in her and watching her overcome her fears and her guilts and all these things that were holding her down in life. And they just wanted her to succeed. So they were rooting for her. So I would say it's overall, it's a feel-good book.
Well, I'm rooting for you. I hope you sell lots of copies.
Oh, I hope you're right, Sam.
We're running a little low on time. I want to ask one more time of our audience if they have any last questions for Maura Beth. Raise your hand. Don't be shy. She'd love to answer any question you have for free.
I will.
I know, free.
Oh,
Yvette,
there's one.
Yvette, unmute yourself, please. Yvette, can you unmute yourself?
So I know she has another book coming out, but do we have any more short stories coming?
I have so many short stories, but some of them are very, very short, and I'm not sure if I want to put them out individually, like micro reads, or maybe collect them and put them in. I have 3 that I was thinking of putting in a book called A Simple Change of Heart, because it's about people who have a change of heart and how, their lives change. But I enjoy writing the short stories, and I like humor because a couple of them are humorous. So yeah, I have a ton of short stories. I'm sure there'll be more coming out.
Stay tuned, audience. Any other questions for Maura Beth? Well, good. Maura Beth, I see we're running just about out of time. I want to thank you so much for visiting with us today and letting us get to know you better on Buy the Book. Thank
you so much. I'm very happy to be here, and I appreciate everybody showing up and for all the wonderful support, and for Nani for giving me these chances. And I just wish everybody a beautiful, wonderful day.
Well, thank you. And let me just say that you were a very genuine and real interview, and I appreciate that. So,
thank you.
So listeners, I'd like to share a couple of other titles with you now befitting the name of this program. These books are highly recommended, so you'll want to head to Amazon or wherever you buy your books legally and pick up copies of these 2 gems. The first is Slimmer by Wendy Jane, the 2020 KCT International Literary Awards Grand Prize winner. That is a mouthful. And the second title is the one discovered by Yvette Cairo, who's with us today, a first place runner-up in the KCT ILA contest. Congratulations to both of those wonderful authors, and audience, run out and grab those books immediately, if not sooner. These books are both listed in the RISA catalog at ravewriters.wordpress.com, categorized by the author's last name. And both authors are members of the very exclusive RISA. And now it's time to pay some bills. Today's sponsor is RISA, and Rave, that is the Rave Writers International Society of Authors. So to learn more about this prestigious branch of RRBC, we encourage you to visit the RISA website at ravewriters.wordpress.com. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, author Maura Beth Brennan, for being my guest today, as well as those of you who participated from our Zoom gallery. Your presence is always appreciated. And remember, if you miss a live show, you can always find each and every episode in the Rave Waves archive on the RRBC site. This is your host, Sam Polikoff, thanking you for tuning in today to Buy the Book, a Rave Waves production. Be sure to join us next time for another exciting episode of Rave Waves Talk Radio, where all things literary are our passion. If you haven't registered for this year's holiday pop-up bookshop, the extended deadline is tomorrow by 6 p.m. Central, so hurry and get registered so we can all promote our books. Have a safe and responsible Thanksgiving, everyone, and be well, my friends.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.